We have a pretty good idea of how YouTube recommendation systems work, right? I mean, you upload a video and YouTube shares it out with a few people. Then, based on how well it performs for those viewers, YouTube shares it out with a few more. But how do they know who to share that video with? Well, that's also a pretty easy one to answer. They can take a look at your thumbnail and see what imagery you have in that thumbnail to determine what the video is about. They can also look at your title, your description, and your tags to see what it is you have said about your video. Then they share it with the people who are interested in that topic. What if I told you captions also play into this? Today we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive on captions, how they work, what we know about captions, and what that might mean for discovery on the platform. But before we do, hi there, my name is Stanley Orchard. I help people with YouTube strategy, channel growth, and guerrilla filmmaking tactics. And if you would be interested in that, please consider subscribing. I would love having you along my YouTube journey here. If you want something a little bit more detailed and in-depth than just an 8 to 10 minute YouTube video here and there, I also wrote a book, The YouTube Strategy Guide, How to Grow on YouTube. So if that's something you'd be interested in, link is in the description down below, and I thank you in advance. So what about captions can be used for the purposes of discovery on YouTube? Well, I can't really answer that because YouTube has never even really said that they use captions for discovery on YouTube. But they have said some interesting things about captions that lead me to believe that they are a little bit more valuable than what you might think. YouTube looks at various aspects of your YouTube video metadata in order to determine what kind of video you have made so that they can know topically who is interested in that subject and who this needs to be shared with. But what's interesting about that is when they look at the title and the description of your video, they look at the beginning first. The beginning of that title and the first 200 characters of your description are weighted more heavily for the purposes of discovery. How does that play into captions? I'll get to that in just a moment, but before I do, we need to look at how captions work in the first place. When you upload a video, YouTube automatically generates captions for that video. What's interesting about this is that you can go in, and you absolutely need to go in and edit these captions. YouTube has a tendency of making mistakes from time to time, and when they do, it's not uncommon for them to accidentally insert curse words where they don't belong. Yeah, I've had some interesting run-ins with viewers on that one in the past. Take a moment to edit your caption. Also, more on that in just a moment. I'm going to explain some other valuable aspects of editing captions more towards the end of this video. But let's get back to what we were talking about. A while back, YouTube made an announcement where they said that they are looking at the captions of your video in order to determine how suitable it is for advertising purposes. The algorithm is actually a ton of algorithms. And there are different systems and different departments that each have a hand in the various algorithms that they use for different aspects of the entire video publishing process. The ad monetization and suitability, I'm not sure what they're called, but basically the ad team wrote a bit of code where they read the captions of your video and they look into them to determine how suitable they are for various advertisers. That way they know what advertisements need to be played on which videos. The search and discovery team, well, they've also written code. And what we've seen in the past is when one of these systems has a new code that is updated for algorithmic purposes, they may take that code and implement it elsewhere. You see it with Shorts videos. They took the basic algorithm that YouTube uses for all long-form videos, and they tweaked it to be much more squished, whatever the term is for this. They hyper-truncated the algorithm so that shorts explode really fast and then, they kind of die off really fast, as opposed to a regular long-form video, which may take months in order to catch steam. They do the exact same thing with a lot of different aspects of the algorithms that are implemented into the code for search and discovery. And it stands to reason that this code that the ad suitability team uses in order to determine how suitable your video is for ads, why would that not be a valuable addition to the search and discovery portions of the algorithm? It makes sense if you think about it. YouTube wants more information about your video so they know exactly who it gets shared with, and where better to look than the actual things that are being said in the video. You can't fake that. But there's also another key tell in this whole thing. You see, when YouTube made that announcement about the ad suitability team using this portion of the code, one of the things they said is that they are looking more heavily into the first 30 seconds of your video. Now, where have we heard that before? Well, that's what the search and discovery team does with your title and your description. They look at the beginning of it. It's more heavily weighted. The reason they're looking more heavily into the first 30 seconds of your video is because that's a more valuable aspect of the search and discovery portions of the algorithm. They took that same bit of code and they have applied it to that aspect of the algorithm. What does this mean for you? And what actionable items can you walk away from this video knowing that you need to improve in order to have better chances for discovery on YouTube? First, you need to speak very clearly in your video. You don't want YouTube misunderstanding the things that you're saying. You want them to get it right in those auto-generated captions. And even if I am wrong about everything that I am saying in this video, and that is entirely possible, I am guessing and throwing darts at the things that I have seen. Even if I am wrong, it's still valuable to edit your captions for the reasons that I said earlier. If you're making a video about chocolate chip cookies, the last thing you want is for YouTube to think that your video is about chocolate cookies because, oh my God, you don't even know the viewers you're going to get in front of with that. Probably not the ones you're looking for. The other thing that you need to do is make sure that the first 30 seconds of your video are absolutely spot on. I say it all the time. That is the single most valuable real estate on your entire YouTube channel. You need to make sure that that first 30 seconds is a confirmation to the viewer that everything that they assumed about your video is accurate. This is where they get confirmation as to whether or not this is the video that they actually need to watch. What's also important about that, though, is that you mention the topic and you speak very clearly so that YouTube understands exactly what the topic is, because if they're using this for search and discovery, it only reaffirms to YouTube who this video needs to be shared with. But don't just take my word for it. I would be very curious to hear what your thoughts are. We can continue this conversation in the comments down below, and I am more than happy to answer every single comment on every single video on this channel for as long as I am physically able to do so. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, and go make something amazing.